The mashed potatoes were getting cold. I'd stopped eating while Mom explained to 18 family members why my business was destroying the family reputation. It's one of those things, she said, waving her wine glass. Multi-level marketing. Pyramid scheme. She ropes in her friends, they rope in their friends. Embarrassing. The dining room smelled like roasted turkey and expensive wine. Crystal glasses caught the chandelier light. White tablecloth, fresh flowers. The whole performance. My cousin Josh nodded from across the table. He sold insurance. Real insurance, Mom emphasized. Not like my internet thing. I saw a documentary about those, Aunt Karen said. They prey on vulnerable women. Sad, really. Uncle Mike cleared his throat. How much have you actually made, sweetheart? I'd been paying for this dinner. The turkey, $1.67. The wine Mom was using as a prop, $3.40. The centerpiece, $2.15. I'd Venmo'd her $800 3 days ago when the budget was tight. She won't say, Mom answered for me. That's how you know it's a scam. Real businesses have real numbers. Josh closed 4 policies last month. Josh beamed. He'd made $1,800 in commissions. I'd cleared $340,000 in October. I just worry about her, Mom continued. She's 32. No retirement account. No real assets. Living in that rental. The rental was a 3-bedroom townhouse. $2,400 a month. I'd paid the year up front, $28,800. My retirement accounts totaled $1.2 million. My business assets were valued at $4.3 million. But Mom had a narrative. I was the cautionary tale. These companies target women who don't understand business, Aunt Lisa said. She taught elementary school. Real work with a pension, according to Mom. I don't recruit anyone, I said quietly. Well, that's probably why you're not making any money, Josh said. Everyone laughed. I'd been carrying this for 5 years. Meanwhile, I'd built an e-commerce consulting firm. 93 clients. Last year, they collectively generated $47 million in revenue. I helped small businesses, mostly women-owned, scale their operations. But at this table, I was still the daughter who disappointed her mother. The doorbell rang. That must be Richard. Mom practically ran to the door. Richardson. Her bank manager. Mom had mentioned 3 times he was stopping by for dessert, and she was finalizing important financial matters. The house refinance. Richard walked in carrying a store-bought pecan pie. Mid-50s, gray at the temples, banker's posture. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Mom shoved a plate into his hands. Richard, you remember my daughter? The one I was telling you about. My stomach dropped. Richard's eyes found mine. Of course. Nice to see you again. We'd never met. He settled into the empty chair. Mom hovered, refilling his coffee. About that application, she started. I was hoping we could finalize. Actually, Richard cut in, setting down his fork with a soft clink. I wanted to discuss something related to that. The table quieted. Your daughter, Richard continued. She banks with us as well. Mom's smile was tight. Oh, she has a checking account. Probably $1,000 in there. I keep telling her she needs to be more serious. Ms. Anderson has several accounts with us, Richard interrupted. Business checking, business savings, 2 investment portfolios and a high-yield treasury ladder. Her primary business account currently holds approximately $4.3 million. Absolute silence. Mom's face went pink to red to pale. I'm sorry, Aunt Karen said. For $1 million. $4.3 million, Richard confirmed, pulling out his phone. Your daughter runs one of the most successful consulting firms in our business portfolio. Her quarterly tax payments alone are substantial. Uncle Mike whistled. Josh had gone perfectly still. But she told me she does social media. Mom started. E-commerce scaling and digital strategy consulting, I corrected. I help small businesses optimize their online revenue. 93 active clients. Average client sees 280% revenue growth in the first year. Richard nodded. Her firm employs 12 full-time staff with comprehensive benefits. I reviewed the payroll account last quarter. Impressive for a 5-year-old company. Josh made a small sound. The reason I'm bringing this up, Richard continued, tone shifting, Relates to your loan application, Patricia. Mom's hand trembled. When we process refinance applications, we do comprehensive background checks. Your application listed your daughter as financially dependent, unable to contribute to household expenses, requiring parental support. You claimed her as a dependent on your risk assessment. I thought she never said. She's not dependent, Richard stated flatly. Reviewing her transaction history, I see regular transfers to your account. $800 3 days ago. $1,200 last month. $950 in September. That's not a dependent child. That's a daughter subsidizing her mother's lifestyle. Several people inhaled sharply. Richard stood. Patricia, your refinance application has been declined. Misrepresentation of financial circumstances is grounds for immediate denial. We'll need to review your existing accounts for other discrepancies. Richard, please. You told us your daughter was running a pyramid scheme. You used that exact phrase in your application notes. Meanwhile, she's one of our highest value business clients. That's deliberate misrepresentation. He picked up his coat. Ms. Anderson, your Q4 portfolio review is scheduled for next week. Looking forward to discussing your expansion plans. The door clicked shut. Uncle Mike broke the silence. $4 million. 4.3, Aunt Karen corrected. Why didn't you tell us? Lisa asked. I tried, I said quietly. Every time I mentioned my business, Mom shut it down. Called it a scheme. It became easier to not engage. Patricia, Uncle Mike said slowly, you've been telling us for 5 years that she was struggling. Pitying me, I confirmed. While I paid for this dinner. And last Christmas. And Mom's car insurance for 2 years. The ghost ledger. I pulled out my phone. Opened a document called The Cost of Being Dismissed. Since we're discussing finances, let me share numbers you don't see on bank statements. Thanksgiving 2021. Mom told everyone I was unemployed. I had just signed a $340,000 contract. Cost, entire dinner feeling like a failure. Self-esteem damage, incalculable. Aunt Karen shifted uncomfortably. Christmas 2021. I gave Mom $2,000. She told the family I'd borrowed money from her. Cost, Josh offered to help me find a real job. Dignity, corroded. Easter 2022. Mom introduced me to her friends as still figuring things out, while I was taking a call about a $50,000 contract. Cost, her friend suggested I sell Cutco knives. Professional credibility, demolished. Every Sunday dinner for 3 years. 156 Sundays. Mom asked how my little social media thing was going. Never asked for details. Never asked to see my office. Never asked about my team. Cost, 156 Sundays feeling invisible. Relationship with mother, permanently damaged. Mother's Day 2023. I paid for brunch, $3.40 for 10 people. Mom thanked Josh publicly for bringing flowers. Cost, being financially invisible while emotionally present. Last month, I paid $1,200 toward Mom's property tax. She told Aunt Karen I was finally contributing something. Cost, being treated like a burden while paying her bills. Sense of family, destroyed. I looked up. That's the ghost ledger. The emotional cost of being made to feel small while succeeding. Of being treated like a cautionary tale while building something real. Honey, Mom started. I'm not finished. Years of gatherings where my business was the joke. Where Josh's commissions were celebrated and my revenue was dismissed. Where I brought the wine, paid for the food, listened to advice from people making 10% of what I make. Uncle Mike cleared his throat. We didn't know. Because you didn't ask. You assumed. You let Mom build a narrative and you believed it because it was easier than investigating. Internal reflection. I'd learned something building my business. People would rather believe you're failing than accept they were wrong about you. It's the gambler's fallacy. I kept thinking, if I just succeed more, they'll see it. They'll recognize what I've built. But that's not how family dynamics work. Mom had written me as the struggling daughter. Changing that narrative would mean admitting she'd been wrong. For 5 years. Publicly. Easier to keep me in the role. There's a concept in psychology. Fixed role assignment. Families cast members unconsciously. Someone becomes the successful one, the mess, the struggling one. Once you're cast, the family resists any performance that breaks character. From comfort. From the need for predictable patterns. I was cast as the struggling one who needed guidance. My success wasn't just unexpected. It was threatening. If I wasn't failing, what did that say about everyone who'd been advising me? About Mom's judgment? Revenge isn't rage. Revenge is patience sharpened into strategy. I hadn't planned this moment. But I'd been patient. I'd built something undeniable. When the truth surfaced through someone with authority Mom couldn't dismiss, I was ready. With documentation. With years of receipts. With a ghost ledger tracking not just dollars but dignity. The cold accounting that comes from being underestimated so long you keep score to remind yourself you're real. Procedural justice. Day 1, Thanksgiving night. After Richard left, I gathered my things. I'll be taking my contributions back, I said calmly. The $800 for dinner. The $1,200 from October. The $950 from September. That's $2,950. I'll send a formal invoice. Honey, you can't be serious. I'm extremely serious. You listed me as financially dependent on a legal document. That's fraud. I left. Drove home. Opened my laptop. Drafted an email to my attorney. Subject: Family defamation and financial misrepresentation. Week 1. Documentation. My attorney, Marissa Chin, reviewed everything Monday morning. This is worse than I thought, Marissa said over Zoom. She claimed you as dependent on her tax returns for 2022 and 2023. That's federal tax fraud. What? You're listed as a qualifying dependent. She's been claiming tax credits for supporting you, while you were paying her bills. The number, $4,200 in fraudulent tax credits over 2 years. We need to report this to the IRS and her bank. Week 2 ripple effects. Mom called 11 times. I didn't answer. Aunt Karen texted, "Your mom is devastated. Can we talk?" I replied, "She committed tax fraud using my name. I'm open to talking after she addresses it legally." Uncle Mike tried, "Family is family. Surely we can work this out." My response: "Would you say that if Josh had cost you a $200,000 refinance?" No reply. Week 3. Bank investigation. Richard's bank launched a formal investigation. They found 3 other instances where Mom had misrepresented my finances to improve her credit profile. Her credit score dropped 87 points. The refinance was flagged. Future applications would require disclosure. Most banks would automatically decline. Month 2. IRS consequences. Mom received an audit notice December 18th. She had to repay $4,200 in fraudulent credits. Plus penalties. Plus interest. Total, $6,847. He called crying. I didn't mean to. Helping yourself, I said quietly. You claimed me as dependent for tax breaks while I paid your bills. I don't have $6,800. Then maybe Josh can help. His commissions seem very successful. I hung up. Month 3 social fracture. The family split. Aunt Karen and Uncle Mike. Team forgiveness. She made a mistake. Aunt Lisa and younger cousins. Team accountability. She lied for years. Josh went silent. His Instagram success stories stopped abruptly. Christmas was canceled. Nobody wanted to host a fractured family. I spent Christmas in Cabo with my team. 12 employees, all expenses paid. Strategic planning for Q1. I slept better than I had in 5 years. Month 4. Settlement. Marissa drafted an agreement. Mom would pay back $6,847 in tax penalties. File corrected tax returns for 2022 to 2023. Repay me $2,950 in recent transfers. Sign a notarized statement acknowledging my business legitimacy. Zero contact for minimum 1 year. In exchange, I wouldn't pursue additional civil damages. Mom signed March 3rd. Uncle Mike witnessed. He looked tired. Your mother is selling the house, he said quietly. The tax bill, the lost refinance, the legal fees. She can't afford to stay. I felt something twist. Not quite guilt. Not quite satisfaction. She could have asked me for help. If she'd treated me like a successful adult, I might have helped with the taxes. Might have co-signed the refinance. But she needed me to be small. I know, Uncle Mike said. We all know now. Ending. Scorched earth. 6 months later. I'm sitting in my new office. 3,000 square feet in the Innovation District. Glass walls, exposed brick, 15 workstations for my expanded team. Conference room that seats 20 clients. The sign went up yesterday. Anderson Digital Strategies. My name. My company. Visible from the street. Mom sold the house in April. Moved to a 2-bedroom apartment in Cranston. Mortgage half what she was paying before, but the address less impressive. The neighborhood doesn't have the same prestige. I know this because Aunt Lisa told me. Not because Mom and I talk. We don't. The no-contact agreement expires in 6 months. I haven't decided what happens then. Mom's therapist, court-mandated for the tax fraud case, reportedly wants to facilitate a conversation. Maybe. Maybe not. What I know, Richard Chin texts me quarterly. Portfolio looking strong. Last quarter my business accounts hit $5.1 million. This quarter we're tracking $5.8 million. By year-end possibly $7 million. My team is 15 people now. 3 new hires this month. We're expanding into international markets, helping e-commerce businesses in 7 countries optimize their digital strategies. I got invited to speak at the Women in Business Summit in September. The invitation came from someone who heard my story, not the pyramid scheme story but the real one. About building a multi-million-dollar consulting firm in 5 years while my family dismissed it as a scam. Mom won't be there. She's not invited. Not to the summit, not to my success, not to my life. I thought I'd feel guilty about that. The good daughter, properly socialized, is supposed to forgive. Supposed to understand. Supposed to make room for imperfect parents because family is family. But I've learned something more valuable than forgiveness. Boundaries. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who sees you clearly and celebrates what they see. It's my team who knew my worth before my mother did. It's Richard Chin who had the professional integrity to tell the truth when it mattered. It's Aunt Lisa who texted last week, "Proud of you. Always have been." The people who made me feel small are living smaller now. Mom downsized. Josh deleted his LinkedIn. The family gatherings I'm not invited to are quieter, I hear. Less celebratory. Meanwhile, I'm hosting my team's holiday party next month. Open bar, catered dinner, live band. Bonuses this year. 20% across the board. Because when people see you, really see you, you make sure they know they're valued. Mom had a choice at every Sunday dinner, every family gathering, every moment she chose the narrative over the truth. She could have asked questions. Could have been curious. Could have celebrated instead of diminished. She chose wrong. And now she lives with that choice in a 2-bedroom apartment with a daughter who doesn't return her calls. I'm done being small to make other people comfortable. The account is closed. The balance is 0. And I am finally in the black.